Welcome to Traders Galaxy. Everything in these videos is just my opinion. It doesn't necessarily reflect the reality of the industry. It's just how I have experienced it myself as someone in rural Australia trying to make a go of it as a games company. So, what is it like to have a games company? Have you ever wanted to start a business and just haven't because circumstances weren't right or something wasn't exactly how it was supposed to be, you didn't have any money, you didn't have an idea? Well, my advice to you would be just start. Obviously, I'm not the be-all and end-all of business gurus and all that sort of stuff. I don't have a multi-million-dollar business. All I have is a little tiny business in my garage that I started 4 years ago. But it had to start somewhere. My philosophy at the time was like, oh, I need to have some money, I need to have like a good idea in order to have a business. I really had no idea how either of those things worked, but I just knew that those are the two things that you needed. I decided to actually go back to uni and do my Masters of Business. And it was there that I learned probably the only lesson that I learnt there that I didn't already know. And it was how I should start a business. And it's not how you would think. Well, at least this is how it came across to me. The uni course that I started with, oh, you know, you got to have a business plan and it's got to be mapped out and it's got to be this. And I was just like, my personality and my brain did not work like that. And it was completely alien. However, later on in the course, there was a subject that really resonated. And it's actually a subject I nearly failed. It was the only subject that I nearly failed. The subject was about innovation, crazily enough. And one of the parts in that subject was about assessing what you have now and just doing the very next step in a direction. That was it. And using what you have now to just do the next step and not think any further ahead about where you're going. Really skeptical. I was like, as if that's going to work. But I decided to put my money where my mouth is and try it. And so I thought, right, it was coming up to New Year, and I thought, right, you know what? I know about miniatures, or I thought I did, and the next step I can do is I know a little bit about how to make how spin casting works and things like that. And so the very next thing I can do, I've got no money, is here's some internet instructions on how to make a spin caster out of a washing machine, engine, motor, and I can actually start by getting a broken washing machine that the motor still works. That was my next step. So the next step after that was, okay, well, my next step will be to strip down the washing machine and see what I can do to actually get some sort of structure of a spin caster. And then when I did that, the next step was then, okay, now I need some plates to put a mold between. I need to get that. And then the next step, and it went on and on and on and on and on. And of course, along those steps, there was problems. And each of those problems you had to solve. And at the time, some of them were quite big problems, like how do I rewire an electrical motor for a thing? I have no idea about electrics, and I'd probably kill myself by rewiring a motor. Now, disclaimer, I don't recommend people try and rewire like stuff around the home or any of that sort of stuff. So the next step was to actually find molds. Like, this is Australia. Like, does spin casting even exist in this country? No idea. And that was a real difficult problem to find molds. Like, the internet was not my friend in that regard. And then I had to find someone who sold the metal. And then I didn't know what the recipe of the metal was, because there's just nothing out there. Even the recipe of my metal that I use, I don't actually know it exactly. My smelter knows that exactly. I call it FV, but they've made that name up for themselves, so it wouldn't mean anything to anyone else. But I do know that it's 98% tin. I think there's a percentage of antimony in there, and I think there's a percentage of bismuth in there. So I don't use any lead in any miniatures, and that's something that I had from the very start. I didn't want to have any lead because I'm spinning these at home and I don't want lead kicking around the house at all. I used to have copper in it, but copper is finicky and you can get like blowholes and stuff in your casts and things like that, so I don't have any copper in my miniatures anymore. So yeah, I'll get into more of this as we proceed with the series. So I won't get off the subject too much, but yeah. So I got the molds, got the metal, and I then had to find a sculptor. So I found a commissioned sculptor. I used Dario from Grim Forge Miniatures in Italy, I think. Sorry, Dario, if I've got that wrong. Dario's a top guy. He does some amazing, at the time he's doing some amazing traditional sculpts. He's now doing some really cool digital sculpts for Grim Forge. He does a lot of sort of like old worldy fantasy stuff. At the moment I think he's doing that. But for me, he made my first 5 sculpts, which were space chimps. Made first 5 space chimps, and so I got those, molded those up. Luckily I didn't destroy them, and yeah, cast my first space chimps. Now that sounds very easy, but let me assure you it was not easy at all. I had absolutely no idea. Like, I'd followed there's a couple of people on YouTube that do spin casting, but they don't really show you the art of it. They might show you like a practical part of it, but there is an art to the science for spin casting. And so yeah, it was like there was a lot of tears, there was some blood, and there was a lot of sweat because it was in this space, but it was like garage and it was hot and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so that was pretty crazy. So we'll go into that more as well as the series progresses. So subscribe and you'll get all these videos of me talking about the ins and outs of how, in detail, about how all these things work. So yeah, so basically I got those, and then obviously I needed a place to sell these. And then don't forget, these are all steps. These are just the next step. These are just the next step. These are just the next step. And so I'm conquering these mini mountains one at a time as they come along, because I don't want to think too far ahead. My next step is obviously I needed a place to sell these. And I thought about, like, there's like Etsy and eBay, and I did use those for a little bit. But I really wanted to have my own space, like my own space in the internet where I could sell this. So I need a website, and that was probably the place where the most tears happened. It was the most tears on the website, because I couldn't afford a website. Like, from what I'd looked at, they're like $3,000-$4,000 for a website. This is like, there's no chance that I could actually make a website. So I decided to try and make a website by myself. I did actually make one, and then realized that I couldn't do the web store thing because I knew I'm coming from zero knowledge of anything. Like, web people would probably be laughing at me. It's just like, this guy knows nothing. That's true. I know nothing about any of this whatsoever. So I'm literally feeling my way in the dark, just through necessity. In the end, I actually got a freelancer to make a base website with a web store for $50. It was crap, don't get me wrong. It was $50. It was crap. But I did sell $50 worth of Space Chimps through that website in the first fortnight. So that was incredible. And then I didn't sell anything else for a year after that. Right, so how do I tie all that waffle back to really the subject of this video? And the subject of this video is take what you have, whether it be your passion, which I think you need if you're starting a business. You've got to be passionate in something, whether it's cooking, whether it's miniatures, whether it's photography, right? Take what you have because you need that. You need that when the mental doubts come, when the difficulties happen. That's your passion and your enjoyment for the thing that you like and do. That will see you through times where you would normally just give up if you didn't like it, right? So, because you can always say in those times, well, I'm still enjoying like the hobby, or I'm still enjoying the things. So you're just cruising through those difficult times, which will come. So you've got that. So you take your passion, then you take your knowledge, and let me tell you, if you're just doing a hobby of something like that, like I'd been in miniatures 28 years as a customer. 28 years playing war games and tabletop miniatures and hobbying and stuff like that. And let me tell you, I knew this much of what this industry is about. And I'm sure there's actually this much to know. So I don't know at all, but if you just take what you do know, that little part, and you can expand on that to get somewhere. So just take, and that goes for all of your knowledge. Every single thing that you've learned since you've been alive, you need that. Put that all together. What have you got? Let's do something, make a business out of that. And even if it's a little side hustle, just make a business out of that. And so that will expand as you stick with it and keep conquering those little steps one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. You will look back and realize you've actually come up quite a long way. Like, it does make a huge difference. So if these videos can encourage people to do that, fantastic. That makes me happy. So I hope to have like different people on this channel. I hope to show different products that aren't Traders Galaxy as well, that I use. Yeah. So yeah, like, subscribe, leave your comments below what videos you would like to see me do in a future episode. Cheers.